Can't clarify this enough. Lock your grandparents in the basement.
You are not prepared!
Then you couldn't look. There was no internet to look the shit up on. Everyone loves Dick. Are you a
Dick
fan
Grayson.
of Dick, Jared?
What? Did we just become best friends? Yup!
Yeah, no, I think Steve-O should come back around. Like, I mean, honestly, like, but man, like, watching his YouTube stuff, like, it is amazing to me. Like, he's always been in the back of my mind is like, man, I remember growing up, like, watching the Jackass stuff. But no, like, Steve-O's an awesome fucking guy.
The poo
Awesome.
cocktail. No, Steve was great. Everything about him. And I'm really happy for him that he got cleaned up and all that shit.
Oh, God, yeah. He's way better sober. By far. Like, even he agrees. Way better sober. Welcome to What an Oddcast. Me, Jared Minekime, with me as always, Anthony Denney here.
Hello.
Today we're going over the Spider-Man villains. This is pretty much just our personal pick when this is all said and done. Now, again, we're excluding Venom, Carnage, and Green Goblin. Now, you may be saying, but if you're going to pick the best Spider-Man villain, why are you excluding them? Anthony, why don't you tell them why we took those characters out?
Because they would win.
That is exactly right. For us, I mean, or at least for me, like, Carnage would always be in the top. No matter fucking what, I would never be able to vote against him. Just because he's such an iconic thing, and he's just such a fucking psychopath. I love the hell out of him. I own a shit ton of his stories.
And everyone knows our love of Green Goblin on this show.
That's not your web, Spider-Man!
Exactly.
And Venom, I mean, I know some people only really got to know Venom from the movie, which is kind of sad, because Venom's been around since the 90s.
In the wind.
Yeah.
I've loved Venom for the longest time, too.
I've loved Venom as well. Much to like Carnage, like growing up, Venom, like Spider-Man was my superhero, and Venom was my supervillain.
Exactly. Isn't it funny how that works?
Yeah.
Like, I never really was a huge Spider-Man fan. I was more of the fan of the villains that Spider-Man had, and Venom was the one growing up that caught my attention. Because he called himself, like, he was always the lethal protector. Like, yeah, he saves people every now and again, but I mean, he's not opposed to just fucking murdering people either. And then
He'll eat your fucking face.
and then came along the son of Venom, ended up being Carnage there, and he just straight up murders people, and that's all he does. So, I mean, I don't know. So they're not in it for that reason. It was mainly because we already knew ourselves enough to know that if we included those three, then it would just be down to those three, and it'd be like, okay, well, these are our three. Hope you have a great day. It would be a total waste of time. So we're not going to include them.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because it's got to make content that's actually favorable and not completely biased.
Oh, yeah. Gotta be fair.
Exactly. I wanted it to be fair as possible. So today we got a few fun lineups coming. Anthony, do you want us to just jump into the first lineup?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
I don't know which one of the lineups we're doing first.
First up. The mad scientist Jackal versus the depraved cannibal Vermin.
It's the really horny guy versus the really hungry guy.
Yes.
Now, Jared, I don't know a lot about Vermin, but is his a fake suit like Jackal's is?
Anthony, I'm glad you asked. We're going to give you, well, I guess I'm going to. We're going to be giving you some background information on the characters. You can vote at home if you want. And I actually have some votes from you guys, and I'm very happy that you all voted in. Because it'll help us in the case of any kind of tie, or in general, they might even just influence the outcome. I guess you'll find out. But no, so Jackal, his real name is Miles Warren.
Ah, yes, Dr. Miles. Wait, is he doctor?
Yes. I mean,
Dr.
technically,
Miles
I guess he's
Warren.
a doctor. I mean, he has a PhD. But he was first shown in Amazing Spider-Man number 31 in 1965 as Miles. And then he later reappeared in Amazing Spider-Man 129 and 74 as Jackal.
I just see fucking you know that scene from Family Guy, like, oh, I need a new name. Jackal, Jackal, is a Jackal, Jackal.
Yes. All right, so let's get into the backstory here. So he started as a biochemistry professor at Empire State University, where later he ends up studying genetics under the High Evolutionary, which, if you're not a comic reader, you may be wondering, who's the High Evolutionary? All you need to know about the High Evolutionary, it's basically I mean, how should I put that? To put it in simple terms. To put it in a layman's term, he's essentially kind of like a god, and he's always looking to try to advance the human genetic code. But here he ends up making his first human Jackal hybrid, which ends up escaping and murders his wife and children.
Now, can I also say, High Evolutionary, I believe has something to do with Rocket Raccoon. I believe he made him, right?
If I'm remembering correctly, I believe so. I believe that's how Rocket Raccoon was made and a few other things. He's really, the High Evolutionary just wants to try to progress human evolution. So that's why he's like favorable to mutants and things like that. He just wants to like better humankind, like give them an evolutionary advantage. But because he killed his wife and children, he kind of goes insane, just a little bit, starts to lose himself. And then he gets thrown the fuck out by the High Evolutionary because it's viewed, all of his things are viewed as, so, Jackal, I'm glad you came. I need you to sit down for a minute, if you would. Now, I'm sorry to tell you, but we're going to have to let you go. All the things you're doing, not really advancing the human race. They're just more like fucked up experiments.
But I gave one of them 7 asses.
Yeah, this is why we're letting you go. So yeah, he gets kicked the fuck out. But he ends up going back, and he starts going back. He goes back to Empire State University. He starts teaching his biochemistry and things like that. Anthony, Anthony, you know a bit about what happens here. Who does he fall in love with?
Why, of course, the very young, and beautiful Gwen Stacy.
Correct. He ends up finding Gwen Stacy, who, of course, at the time is dating Spider-Man. Spider-Man! Yeah, so he falls in love with Gwen, and then the whole thing with Green Goblin happens, where, backstory on that, she goes to England for a bit, falls in love with Norman, doesn't know he's Green Goblin, leaves him, comes back, and then he gets all jealousy pissed, and he kills Gwen. It was a whole thing, and Spider-Man ends up killing her, trying to save her. But obviously, he blames Spider-Man for her death. I mean, pretty much everybody does. I mean, that's just like the thing that happened in comics. Yeah, like everyone blamed him, even though Green Goblin's the one that dropped her. Anyway, so because of that, he starts getting into cloning humans. And the first one he clones is a clone of Gwen that has the ability to degenerate people. Like, she can just touch things and degenerate living matter. Convinces her to let him live as long as he doesn't do it again. She leaves, and he's like, all right, now that she's gone, I will experiment. He
love a little bit of... I'm sorry, please continue.
Oh, no, please.
I didn't know where I was going with that.
Oh, well, great. We just have a dead-end joke. Thanks, Andy. You blue-balled everyone in the audience. I'm sorry.
I love blue-balling. I'm not. Anyways.
So he gets a sample of Spider-Man's DNA, and he makes a couple clones of DNA. But in the process of this, his then assistant basically tries to stop him. Like, hey, I'm sorry to say, but if I really must, I don't think you should be cloning people. I think this is a very bad idea. And I just, I went to Billing, and Billing told me to come up here, and then I come up here, he told me to go to Billing. Oh, just shut the fuck up! So he kills him, and he doesn't know how to handle it. So
back to formula.
Yeah, that's basically what happened. Like the Spider-Man scene with Green Goblin there. And because he doesn't know how to handle that he murdered him, he ends up breaking his psyche, and he creates Jackal, which is basically his psyche's way of handling that he just straight up murdered somebody. And he ends up making the suit that we see, which if you follow us on Instagram, the odd jokey pants there, I've been showing what we got going on. He looks like a green fucking jackal man. I don't know how else to put that.
Okay, I'll describe it. He's a green furry man, and his head is the shape of a triangle. The chin is the bottom point.
Yeah, give him. He looks like a hairy goblin.
Got Wolverine's hair, but green. Minus the mutton chops.
Yes. So he ends up creating this, and all this is his way to fight Spider-Man. Now, of course, Anthony, do you think he fights him one-on-one, mano-a-mano?
Well, of course he does. He's a very smart man, so that means he's got loads of muscles.
You're almost correct. That is completely false.
Yes. I went for the whole reverse psychology.
Well, now looks like you hit bankrupt, so try again next turn. So,
fuck. It's like Game Grumps up in here.
So, essentially, he just uses other villains like Scorpion and so on to sick them after Spider-Man, and all that just keeps failing. And eventually, he perfects his cloning. Oh, I'm sorry, am I boring you?
Fuck you.
So, he ends up perfecting his cloning, which is right after, mind you, he convinces the Punisher that Spider-Man is evil and needs to be stopped. But then, of course, Frank Castle figures out the Jackal is a manipulative, lying asshole and tries to kill him. And Jackal gets away, and then he's like, I can't be doing that anymore. That's fucked.
Can't hire people. People might change.
People try to kill me. So, out of this, we get the storyline that, I mean, most Spider-Man and whatnot people know as the Clone Wars. This is where it all comes from. Wrong Clone Wars, but I like your enthusiasm. So,
Clone Wars. Gun it ass.
So yeah, we get the Clone Wars out of this, where he makes Ben Reilly and Strife, or no, not Strife. Wait, isn't that his name?
I know Kane.
Kane, thank you. I was thinking of a different person. The other
there
twin
could be a
clone.
Strife.
There is a Strife, and that's Cable's twin from another universe, the version of him that went fully metal. That's a whole other thing for another time. So, yeah.
No wonder why you got that confused. Another evil twin.
Yeah, so Kane is the first clone that he makes, but he gets completely fucked up, and he gets all deformed and shit. But before Jackal can terminate him, he gets away. That's how we get the villain Kane. The Clone Wars isn't a very good thing with Spider-Man. It's very jumbled and shitty. But the beginnings of it were okay. Mainly because, at this point, he ends up knocking out Spider-Man, who he figures out is Peter Parker, and he tries to switch him out. That's because he was using his DNA, and he figures out that it's Peter.
I just like that. Oh, Spider-Man's DNA. I'm going to first figure out who this is. Don't know who this guy is. He looks like a lot like the guy who was dating Gwen Stacy that wasn't Spider-Man, though. Should have put two and two together then.
Yeah, so he takes his clone, and he's going to switch them out. But his new assistant switches out the bodies again without Jackal knowing. So what ends up happening is we get Ben Reilly, which is a clone of Spider-Man that he basically puts memories into, and makes him think he's a completely different person, and thinks that he's Peter Parker. And then you get the original Scarlet Spider, the one with the blue hoodie that's ripped off with the spider suit and it's all red. We get that out of it, and then Peter ends up coming back too, and blah blah blah. So that's a backstory to Jackal. Is he created the bullshit clone saga war thing
that everyone hates, but everyone loves pieces of.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, most people liked Ben Reilly and like the Scarlet Spider, and when they killed him off, people were kind of mad because they liked the character itself, so they ended up bringing him back later. So yeah, that was the whole thing. Now moving on to Vermin. Now Vermin's real name is Edward Whelan.
Weaving like a weasel.
Yeah, he's
Like
Whelan.
Weevil.
So first appearance was Captain America 272 in August of 1982.
Oh.
A lot of cocaine. So, now Vermin, on the other hand, he grew up in an abusive home and ended up living on the streets because fuck mom and dad, they're abusive. Which is bad for him because he ends up being picked up by Baron Zemo. And he gets he gets experimented on by the Nazi genetic scientist Artem Zola, which gives him his rat-like appearance and abilities because, you know, they have to mutate people.
So Baron Zemo, I'm just picturing this guy, mask glued to his face, driving around downtown Manhattan looking for children.
Oh, I got to find the little boy. Oh, hey, little boy, want some candy? Oh, get in the van. Get in the van. It's Halloween time, yeah. Oh, yeah. So yeah, they make him. They're the ones that make him look like a rat. But then they use him to, and he has, and by the way, he has the ability to control, like call and control rats. He's like the Pied Piper, but in rat form.
Of course he does. He's like the Pied Piper, but can't go out in public.
So yeah, that's basically what he can control animals, vermin, other stuff like that. So they send him out in the streets to attack Cap, which he does by slashing some poor fucking cab driver. Hey, bud, you need a cab? Oh my god! At which point,
I like the idea that it didn't happen until after he picked him up. Like, I see bigger rats. My mom seen bigger rats in the basement. Come on in.
yeah, so then obviously Cap shows up, they have a big fight, he gets captured, taken to S.H.I.E.L.D., and then he somehow escapes.
He gets captured?
Yes. Good pun, you fucking dad. So he ends up escaping from captivity, goes back, and then Baron Zemo decides that he's fucking worthless, and ends up chaining him up next to the Captain America, who he went out and captured himself. And, yeah. And then they sick some more mutated people on them, which Vermin fucking kills and devours, and then he escapes. And he stows away on Baron Zemo's escape rocket, where he proceeds to maul him. I'm so glad to meet you out. I'm so safe. What is that? Oh god! Oh god! Yeah, and then he gets out of there. He escapes again. But then when he goes back to it, he ends up living in the sewers for a bit. And he encounters Cap again, and they like convince him like, hey man, you might have a problem. And then, you know, they have another fight, and then he lives in the sewers for a bit. But then he ends up coming out of the sewers because there's a festival going on. At which point, this greedy little fat motherfucker decides he's going to come out of the sewer and murder and eat as many people as he fucking can. And that's when yeah, and that's when Spider-Man shows up. Him and Cap team up to help battle Vermin. They get him arrested. And then years later, he admits himself to Ravencroft, which is basically the Arkham Asylum of the Marvel Universe, because he ends up confronting his dad, and he gets past it, and he's like, you know what? I need some help.
He's got daddy issues.
Yeah, he does. So he ends up going in there, but then it turns out that Baron Zemo and Zola are experimenting on people in Ravencroft. So he teams up with Cap and Spider-Man to help stop them, which he does. But then immediately after, he ends up going into the sewer, where he proceeds to capture and fucking eat people again.
I know that I helped you.
I'm so glad I was able to help you. Now, if you excuse me, I have an insatiable feasting of flesh to consume.
There's even a story where like Punisher wants to kill him, but then Spider-Man convinces him that, you know, you shouldn't kill him because that's wrong and whatever, and then Vermin escapes anyway. So yeah, he's had an encounter with like a lot of fucking different heroes for just because he fucking eats people. So
I mean, that's not like, I get it. He's terrifying, but at the same time, he's just a hairy dude that eats people.
Yes. Yeah,
I mean,
apparently,
that could be me.
Apparently, one of the Amazing Spider-Man games I found out, there's a secret boss battle you can do with him if you're in the sewers. There's like a spot or something. I wouldn't know because I didn't play those games because movies were bad, so I didn't play the fucking games.
I actually played them. I played the first one at least. This is not that bad.
Were the games better than the fucking movies?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Vermin, I'm assuming he's the rat monster, but basically they do a reverse Spider-Man on a lot of animals, and they turn him human-like, including a rat, a rhino, a scorpion.
Oh, so they still fuck up his origin either way. Yeah, it's a rat that we Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtled.
He bites Mary Jane, and she has an infected disease that Spider-Man has to cure, and that's the catalyst of the entire game.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No, I'm not. It has Alexander Smythe in it too.
Wow. So anyway, that's our two contenders on the first bracket.
The hairy boy bracket.
Yeah, this is the hairy boy is the first round. So I mean, out of the two of them, man, I don't know. Anthony, who are you voting for? Jackal or Vermin? Who's a better Spider-Man villain? Who's deadlier? Blah blah blah. Like, who are you voting for?
I'm gonna vote for Jackal.
You're going Jackal? Just
because, as a Spider-Man villain, he's done a lot more to Spider-Man, like the whole cloning thing, the whole creating, Kane, who had an everlasting effect, Ben Reilly, versus Vermin, the guy who pops up every now and then to eat a foo.
I mean, he's not just technically speaking, he's constantly fucking eating people. Just no one, for some reason, wants to stop him all the time. Just
not even the Punisher, from what you said.
Yeah, like the Punisher tried, and then Spider-Man intervened. Like, no, we can't kill. That's not what we do. And it's like, man, like it's Frank Castle. Like the man, life is just killing fucking criminals. Like, especially the dude that's a fucking rat. He's the evil Splinter down here eating people. Oh, Turtles, I'm glad you brought April O'Neil. I'm so hungry.
Which way is he going to eat her, though?
You're terrible. I'm also going to vote Jackal. I am also voting Jackal. It's nothing against Vermin. It's just that Vermin himself, I mean, he's deadly, but I mean, compared to Jackal, I mean, Jackal had a fucking ton of fucking clones he put out there. They were all way deadlier than what Vermin was. Especially the fucking Gwen Stacy one, they could just degenerate people. What a fucking fucked up clone.
And we have to think about it. Not to mention Kane, who had the thing called the Mark of the Spider. Do you know the Mark of the Spider?
Mark of the Spider. It's ringing a bell, but I'm drawing a blank.
What he would do is he would touch your face with his hand, stick his hand to your face, and then rip his hand as far back as he could.
Huh.
Yeah, leaving a giant fucking handprint scar on your face forever.
All right, then. So, so Jackal moves on. Now, I could just go to the one right next to that one, but I want to switch it up. Can I switch it up, Anthony?
Of course. You're a podcast. You can do whatever you want.
Well, that's not entirely true. You should keep good content. Keep good... Anyway, Doppelganger and Chameleon. We'll go that way.
All right, let's go that way.
Let me get my notes, because I have notes. Notes mainly for number one to make comparisons on the two, and overall just give you guys some information about the character so you can kind of understand where we're coming from here. Maybe, I don't know. First up is Doppelganger, and Doppelganger first appeared in Infinity War 1. Basically, the first part of the Infinity War.
Was he behind Thanos or something?
He's a clone made by the villain Magnus, who made clones of every hero. There were clones of the Punisher. There was a clone of Daredevil, and this one is a fucked up clone that they made of Spider-Man. If you didn't see the picture of this fucking thing that I posted on our Instagram, Jesus fucking Christ, he's got 6 fucking arms.
He's the best hugger out there.
Razor sharp clawed hands. And a demon face, it's Spider-Man's face, but it's all like Carnage mouth. Like, it is terrifying.
Yeah, it looks. It's his mask and then just mouth.
Yeah, it's a literal Spider-Man. Was the whole point of making it? That's what all the cloning of the heroes were. It was like their literal doppelganger kind of thing. So doppelganger here, in that he's actually killed by the end of it when they defeat Magnus, but he ends up getting brought back by none other than another contender on our list, but Demogoblin brings him back as a pet.
Oh.
Yeah, because he wanted a little sidekick to help fight crime. We'll get to Demogoblin, and you'll understand why he would want something that fucking kills people. But then he ends up, him and Demogoblin have a falling out. He escapes, where he later joins up with Carnage, and he ends up becoming a pet to Carnage and Shriek, at which point, Carnage...
Adorable.
Yeah, it was actually during the Maximum Carnage. When Carnage and Shriek and them are doing a massacre in the city, they get Doppelganger, and they're like, yeah, we can have him join, because he's like an evil Spider-Man. Like, yeah, why not? We're just murdering all these people in New York. But
might as well.
Yeah, and then Carnage turns on Shriek, and then Doppelganger tries to attack Carnage in defense of what he considered as his mom figure. And obviously that doesn't fucking work for him. But then he does end up appearing later on, which I can attest to this. He ends up teaming up with Carnage in Colorado when they do Carnage USA, where Carnage takes over a small town. Doppelganger's in that mix of the multiple Carnage people that he's making. But at the current moment in comic wise, pretty much Carnage ripped his fucking legs off because he pissed him off, and he's just roaming around somewhere without his legs.
You got 3 more limbs to curl around on. Well, 6 more limbs.
I believe he's missing an arm, if I remember correctly. So he's got 5 more. He's got 5 more limbs.
Poor guy.
Yeah, he got fucked up for the Carnage USA. So that's Doppelganger. He can, and fun fact, he can make his own webbing, but they are razor bladed. So they are.
Dude, shooting fucking barbed wire.
Yeah, pretty much. Like they're like razor blade ended. So like when he shoots his web, instead of just to grab a surface, it's to cut a bitch. So that's Doppelganger, which is a doppelganger of Spider-Man. Ha ha ha! It's so clever. And he goes against another doppelganger.
What?
Yeah, none other than Chameleon, who we've covered his half-brother. Come, Chameleon.
Dimitri.
He copies and shoots some more people. Yeah.
Dude, who's got a really, moldable face.
Yes. He's going against Chameleon, which, as I said, we've covered his half-brother, who is Kraven the Hunter. And Dimitri, fun fact, pretty sure he was in the last Spider-Man movie, Far From Home. Pretty fucking sure that was him. Just pointing it out there, the guy's name's Dimitri, and there's not many fucking people named Dimitri in the Spider-Man universe.
Yeah. They knew what they were doing. Whether it be a red herring or he's going to show up later, people know.
Yeah, especially because Chameleon is a human mutate, as they call him. He doesn't actually have a face.
Spider-Man.
Yes. His face is actually, it looks like a giant white snake head kind of thing, like a reptilian face, and he can change his voice into anyone else's voice, and he wears different masks and things, and he just blends in by becoming anybody. So we first get introduced to him in Amazing Spider-Man #1 in 1963.
Yes.
Yes, I actually have a quote from Chameleon if you'd like.
What if I said no?
Well, I'd give it to you anyway, you bitch.
All right, let's hear it.
I am invisible because I am the same thing you look at every dreadful, dull day. I am the day before you realize everything has gone horribly, horribly wrong. I am the chameleon.
Do you think that he wrote that down in way in advance, was just waiting for the right moment?
Yes. 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 So as I said, he's the half-brother of Kraven. He was beaten and abused by his parents because of his how his head looked. But he did end up entertaining Kraven because he could copy voices. So Kraven found that fucking hilarious. So he could just mimic a voice and fuck with people.
I like that. Stop mimicking me. Stop mimicking me.
Yeah, but Kraven still beat the hell out of him. It didn't come yeah, like he ended up just convincing himself that he had made friends with Kraven, but he never did. Like, Kraven still beat the living shit out of him all the time. Which he ends up getting recognized by Russia and the other communist countries, and they make him a spy because, he's able to mimic his voice, change his appearance. They're like, hey, you're a perfect spy. But then he ends up
has
learning...
nowhere else really to go.
Now, this is where I feel the whole chameleon thing really does tie in for Spider-Man. And I know I'm tying back into the MCU on this, but it is important.
It's the MCU.
Yeah, because the first time we get introduced to Chameleon in the comics with that Amazing Spider-Man #1 in 63 is because Spider-Man is revealed to the entire masses. Like, he's revealed to everyone, and it's J. Jonah Jameson like, he's a villain, he's a crook, we need to get that Spider-Man. And Chameleon finds this in the paper, and he's like, interesting. So while Spider-Man's off talking to Fantastic Four, he's trying to, get a steady paycheck and try to get his hero career really off the ground.
Yeah, and becomes the bombastic bagman.
Yes. Chameleon ends up taking the Spider-Man identity to go steal a classified missile system schematic. Basically, okay, well, Spider-Man's not in the picture right now because he got outed and he's a wanted man. Fuck it, I'm Spider-Man. And then he goes and does this mission. Spider-Man stops him, blah, blah, blah. And after that happens, that's when we get introduced to Kraven. Because after he gets after he gets the shit kicked out of him by Spider-Man, he ends up contacting Kraven like, hey, you like to hunt shit? Man, have I got a hunt for you. And we covered that all in our Kraven episode.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yes, but that's our brief little glimpse at a Chameleon. Now that you know more about both of them, you have a better idea. Who are you voting, Chameleon or Doppelganger? Who's the better Spider-Man villain?
I'm gonna vote for this man who looks a lot like Spider-Man.
They both can look like Spider-Man.
That's not his face. That's a mask. I'm voting for Chameleon.
Going Chameleon?
Yeah, I was going to do this whole bit, but then you're like, they both look like Spider-Man. Like, well, yeah. Yeah, Chameleon's got my vote just because, he's a classic. He's a lot more well-known.
I hate to say this, but we're going into our first tiebreaker. Because I'm voting Doppelganger. As much as he's not used very much, and I'm very sad he's not, just because, he's terrifying. He's extremely strong. And he's constantly paired up with Carnage. Like, every time Carnage comes out and does something, 9 times out of 10, Doppelganger is there like his little pup. And it's just funny to me that he's his dog. Like,
Jared, you're not going to get Carnage through by voting it through Doppelganger. I know what you're doing. I can see the code.
I'm just saying he's basically Carnage's dog, and that's fucking hilarious. So, because of that, I'm going to have to go in and double check on what we have down. But while I do so, Anthony, why don't you tell the people about give a sneak peek, if you will, at the upcoming CLT sandwich.
The one that's coming out on Wednesday.
Yes.
Well, we went over a little, some stories written, some true-to-life fairy tales, how they are actually written, some Disney movies. And Jared found out how fucked up some of them actually are.
Okay.
Still haven't edited that. That's what I'm doing tomorrow.
Hey, we've all got lives to live. All right. So, Anthony, are you ready?
I am.
Are you ready to hear this?
I am. Let's hear it.
Anthony, I'm sorry, but Chameleon's knocked out.
All right, who the fuck did you... Who?
Everyone voted doppelganger. I am not... Like, everyone who sent me a message or voted was doppelganger.
All right, I mean, hey, that's fair. I'm the minority. Shocker. But,
now, don't get me wrong. I think Chameleon is a great villain. He has some very good stories. I think Chameleon is a great villain. But the people have decided. James gave us a vote. It was doppelganger. We also got a vote in from InfoCast 5000, and they were also doppelganger at the time. So I don't even have to look at the other ones I have because those two alone push it to doppelganger. So unfortunately, doppelganger will move on, and he will go into the next bracket.
Hey Sam,
Hey, Baron.
is there a podcast out there where I can find out about flying sex chairs or animatronic pizza bands?
No. I don't think there is.
Are you talking about InfoCast 5000?
I wasn't.
the newest podcast. God damn it. Are you talking about it? I can't fucking do this. I quit. Are you talking about InfoCast 5000? The newest podcast sensation sweeping the hearts and minds of people everywhere?
No, I never heard of it.
What do we do on InfoCast 5000?
Well,
Sam?
if we did have a podcast, I imagine every week we'd probably talk about something familiar to us and to the listener and try to get into its history and maybe some of the fun stories behind how they came to be. But I for the life of me, I can't think of a podcast that does that.
Whoa, that sounds awesome. Crack open a cold one and point your magic computer phone to the nearest podcast player and we'll be there ready to embrace you with a history you never knew you wanted.
Again, I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's InfoCast 5000. Look us up on iTunes. We got Spotify. We got Stitcher. We got all kinds of stuff that I can't memorize right now. But we're everywhere. We are everywhere.
Sounds pretty cool. I wish something like that was around.
It is.
What did you call it?
InfoCast 5000.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That's
Great.
the end of our trailer. Bye.
Now, with that, we're going to go to a classic. The classic lineup. Rhino versus Scorpion.
Ooh, this is a classic.
Indeed. Pretty much every bracket has at least one bit of like a classic lineup to it.
Yeah.
Rhino. Alexei, I'm going to totally mispronounce this because he's another fucking Russian character. Alexei Sistovich?
Let me look.
I don't know how to pronounce Russian. Don't judge me.
Let's see. Well, Jared, just do your best. Just pronounce it like would. Ooh, that's a fucking...
Sistovich?
Sistovich.
Yeah, you know what? We're just gonna go with that.
Wait, we have to watch Amazing Spider-Man 2. He says his name.
No.
Get it? Because no one else will know who he was.
Yeah, he was in Amazing Spider-Man 2, and it was the biggest bullshit of a trailer and movie ever. Such a fucking letdown. Anyway, he first appeared.
John Cena play him.
So anyway, he first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man number 41 in 1966.
That's 3 from 69.
I was waiting for it. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, Anthony always makes that fucking joke.
It's like I'm at this point where it's funny, but it's also not funny at the same time.
You know, I just don't
Where
think
I'm just
69
doing
will
it-
ever not be funny. We just grew up in that. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's just everywhere.
Yeah. It's so stupid. I love it.
So Alexei was a thug who started off working for the Eastern Bloc scientists who experimented on him and gave him his signature rhino skin suit and his super strength. Now, he ends up getting sent to capture J. Jonah Jameson's son because he's coming back with spores. And no, it is not the 1990 Spider-Man animated cartoon. That was something that they did themselves. It was not the Venom suit. So everyone stop what you're saying right now. That was only a thing they did in that cartoon. That is not the real story. He had already had the black suit.
The Venom movie too.
They are spores that were found on the moon. I even double-checked it. In the comic, it was spores from the moon that they just didn't know what they were, but the scientists wanted it to do experiments. Anyway, so he ends up beating the shit out of Spider-Man, and then Spider-Man, with the help of Kirk Connors, a.k.a.
The Lizard.
Thank you. He ends up developing an acid webbing. This acid webbing he uses on Rhino, helps dissolve the skin so he can knock him out. And then he gets pretty pissed off. He gets out of jail, and the scientists, even though, now mind you, he destroyed all the scientists' shit when they gave him everything. He was like, oh, well, thank you. And then he just destroyed the entire fucking lab. The scientists still come up to him. They're like, hey, we're willing to forgive last time. We've come up with a new way to make you a fucking Rhino Man.
And also to mention, just to add this on, Rhino's a ginger.
Is he really? I honestly didn't realize he was a ginger.
I just looked him up without his suit on. Yeah, red hair.
Well, that's something I've never actually done that. I just always assumed he was bald.
No, he's got a red bowl cut.
That's fucking hilarious.
Anyway.
So yeah, they bombard him with gamma radiation, which, if you know anything about comics, you'll know that's how the Hulk was made. So they bombard him with gamma radiation, give him a new and improved, thicker skin, so it's immune to the acid treatment. And since then, he's had numerous run-ins with many different heroes and Spider-Man all the time. But fun fact, when he first had the gamma radiation treatment, they sent him to fight the Hulk because they wanted Bruce Banner, because they wanted his knowledge of gamma. And Rhino trained for like weeks to be able to fight the Hulk. Hulk pummeled the living shit out of him. Like when I was reading this, because I honestly want to find this comic, because the way it puts it is that he gives him his hardest and strongest hits. The Hulk laughs at him and then pummels him into a coma.
Yeah, like, oh, we're gonna power you with gamma radiation. Hey, now go fight the guy who's powered by gamma radiation.
Yeah, he gets pummeled into a fucking coma.
Now, I mean,
he pulls the Loki maneuver from Avengers.
Just like, no. I mean, it's not like he has a crimson article, a crimson, ruby that'll give him unstoppable force.
Oh, you mean Juggernaut?
Yeah, he's no Juggernaut. I know, I was just trying to be quite bad.
Yeah, he's no Juggernaut. Juggernaut's actually gone head-to-head with the Hulk and done pretty well.
Yeah.
But Rhino got the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah, he's no Avatar. Avatar of Kryok, or however you fucking pronounce it.
So, now we move on to our other contender, Scorpion. Real name, Matt Gargan. Gargan.
Gargan me nuts.
So first appearance, Amazing Spider-Man number 20 in 1965. So a year before we got introduced to Rhino. Now, if you saw the 90s animated Spider-Man, radioactive Spider-Man, you'll already know the origin. They do it pretty well in there. But we're going to go into it anyway. So, Matt Gargan is hired by J. Jonah Jameson to find out how Peter Parker gets his Spider-Man photos, because no one fucking knows how he gets the goddamn photos he does. But of course, while he's following Peter's, spider senses go off, he's able to ditch him. So, Jameson, getting pissed off, puts Matt Gargan into a barely tested process that grants him abilities. He's given a club-tailed suit, and because of this, they choose a Scorpion to give him basically combine his DNA. And basically the way they look at it is like, well, the scorpion's a natural predator of a spider. This will work.
Man, J. Jonah Jameson really fucking hates Spider-Man.
He hates Spider-Man so much, he made a supervillain. One of his deadliest supervillains, mind you. Like, Scorpion is straight up one of the deadliest because he has almost... He's the Scorpion version of Spider-Man. Like, he can climb walls and shit. He's got the deadly tail. And it's true. Like, a scorpion is a natural predator to a spider. Like, that's just,
He sometimes has a mouth hole. Sometimes has just a mouth built into the mask. Really weird.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. Anyway, so... so they end up fighting. Obviously, Spider-Man ends up defeating him twice, mind you. And after getting defeated the second time, the predatory DNA of the Scorpion takes over, and Gargan goes fucking insane. Go figure that the barely tested experiment would have a horrible consequence. And
shocking.
Yeah, and from that day forward, he's been an assassin for hire. Constantly tries to hunt and kill Spider-Man. But yeah.
Oh, Jared, you're forgetting one thing, unless you mentioned it and I just didn't hear you say it.
What is that, Anthony?
Why does he keep wearing the suit?
Oh, yeah, he can't fucking take it off. It's fused to his body, much like Rhino's suit. Well...
I love that fucking part. Because he gets really pissed at J. Jonah Jameson because it's like, oh yeah, it's stuck to you forever. What do you mean forever?
What are you talking about forever? I can take it off here.
No, you can't. You gotta get me pictures of Spider-Man.
I gotta pee.
So yeah, well actually no, Rhino can take off the suit. But Scorpion on the other hand, yeah, that shit's just, it's stuck to him forever because of that experiment. So yeah, they made a man go completely insane because he just couldn't understand how Peter Parker was such a good photographer. Man, the penis envy on that guy, am I right?
I mean, yeah.
So with that, Anthony, Rhino and Scorpion, I mean, just straight up like two like OG Rogues Gallery villains for Spider-Man. I mean, they're two giant names. They're in the PS4 Spider-Man game. They've been in numerous other Spider-Man games. I mean, they are so widely used and popular. But who are you voting for, Scorpion or Rhino?
Oh, how about you get your vote out first?
Oh, yay! I'm voting Rhino. Just because I know most people vote Scorpion, and believe me, it is very hard for me to choose. I've struggled with this all weekend leading up to this episode of who I was going to choose. But I don't think Rhino gets enough love. But I've always been a huge fucking fan of Rhino because I just think he's cool as fuck. So I'm voting Rhino.
Well, you see, unfortunately, now we have a tie because I'm voting Scorpion.
God damn it, Anthony. Well,
the reason why I'm voting Scorpion is, I like his origin. I like the suit. And Scorpion is cool. Yeah.
Well, Scorpion wins that one because I know James voted Scorpion, and I do know that the votes I was getting on Instagram were Scorpion. So, well, Rhino, I gave you a fighting chance, but unfortunately, Scorpion moves on. Can't really say I'm that downstricken by it though, because Scorpion's a fucking awesome villain too. I mean, that one was a hard one for me. Because not only are they just the OG villain, but like they are legitimately just good fucking villains. Like,
yeah.
Well, that brings us to our last lineup in the main bracket here, which is Demogoblin and Morbius. Morbius we've covered before, so I can cover him quick while I get my notes. Yes. You see, I'm the sugar-free or splendor vampire, if you will. I'm not technically a vampire. I'm considered a pseudo-vampire because I did this to myself and I was not bitten by a vampire. I have all of the downsides of being a vampire, though, which is kind of shitty. And I do crave human blood. So yeah, we have an entire Morbius episode, so I'm not really going to go into detail of Morbius. Go back and listen to our older episode, all about Morbius, so you can learn all about him. But yeah, he's a pseudo-vampire, because he did it to himself and wasn't bitten by a vampire. Because of this, for whatever fucking reason, other vampires constantly try to grab him and do experiments to try to take his DNA. It's like Blade. Like, he's not a real vampire. He's like some kind of weird vampire. Let's get him. It's a whole fucking thing. I don't understand it. Anyway, the other contender for that one is Demogoblin. First appearing in Spectacular Spider-Man number 47 in February of 1989, but as Hobgoblin, and we'll get into the reason why. He first appeared as Demogoblin in Web of Spider-Man number 86 in 1992. Now, Demogoblin, it's a very brief little thing I can go through here. Hobgoblin, frustrated from always being defeated by Spider-Man, ends up, there's a thing that was like hell ripped open a portal and there were demons coming through. As it's closing, Hobgoblin follows the demons back and he confronts the demon. I honestly don't know how to fucking pronounce this, and I couldn't find a way to pronounce it because it's N''ASTIRH. And Aster is what I'm going to go with. So he confronts an Aster. And the demon ends up laughing at his proposal because Hobgoblin's like, I'll give you my soul. Just give me the power I need to defeat my enemies. Which the demon fucking laughs at him because he's a corrupt fucking evil dude. They're like, your soul is worth a jack fucking shit.
Your soul is mine.
Yeah, like, your soul's already condemned to hell. Like, I don't want it. But he ends up granting him his wish. He's like, you know what? You had tenacity to come down here. I'll help you out. But by helping him out,
some pretty big stones.
Yeah, so to help him out, he just gives him a demon to be possessed by, which does give him a boost in all of his abilities. He gets more strength, superhuman strength, speed, agility, endurance, blah, blah, blah. But the downside is that the demon fucking hated him. So they argued constantly over who was going to control his body, which at the time was Kingsley was the Hobgoblin. So they constantly argue. And eventually the demon says, fuck you, and separates from him, which creates Demogoblin. And he sets out to rid the world of all sinners. But much like the Punisher, his definition of a sinner is a very strict policy. And the only people that he considers safe are children. He feels that they're innocent and aren't able to do anything wrong. But pretty much,
I know some children that can prove him wrong.
Yeah, but literally everyone else he'll just straight up fucking murder because he feels really anything is a sin. Like if you
go ahead, Jared. Go ahead.
If you just say goddamn and he happened to be in the vicinity, he would blow your ass up with a pumpkin bomb because that's a sin and you're immediately condemned to hell. Like, his rules for sinning are very, very, very strict. Because of this, he ends up teaming up with Carnage at one point. Because he's like, oh, Carnage is just going around killing all these people in New York City? Like, yeah, I'll team up with that. I'm already doing that. So he's had numerous run-ins against Venom and Spider-Man and so on and so forth. But he was actually murdered.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Hobgoblin gets pissed off that he's out doing his own thing, tracks him down. They fight in a church. A kid's about to be crushed by a pillar. Demogoblin pushes the kid out of the way, saves him, but he dies. But then he ends up getting brought back later anyway, which is recently, from what I was looking at, he got brought back in Absolute Carnage, which is the newest Carnage story. But he gets brought back as a female.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, but that's Demogoblin. He's, superhuman strength. He's fucking demonic. He's just out murdering everyone and everything. He's a demon fucking goblin. Like, what else can I say? Like, he's got pumpkin bombs, but he can also just literally set you on fire. So he's constantly running in also with Ghost Rider is another person he fights with all the time. Because he can't just go around condemning everyone to hell. That's not how it works. But he does. Oh, man. You guys believe it? I just totally jacked this jewel out of that store. They don't even know. Condemned to hell!
Sinner, like fire, hellfire.
Hellfire indeed! So out of that, Anthony, who are you voting for out of that? Our old pal Morbius, or do you feel Demogoblin is a better villain? Because I will remind everyone that Morbius does end up becoming a good guy.
Well, Jared, every fucking Spider-Man villain becomes a good guy.
At some point.
And
except for
by
Demogoblin.
definition, Demogoblin is a good guy. He only kills sinners.
Yeah, but I mean...
But...
He murdered everyone in New York City with carnage.
But... My vote's for Demogoblin.
I'm sorry, Morbius.
Before you tried to influence me with your, oh, remember Morpheus is a good guy. Yeah, no, Demogoblin, just because.
I'm also going Demogoblin. And it's not because Morbius has become a good guy since then. It's literally because Demogoblin just fucking straight up murders people. Like, he doesn't even have to have a really good reason. If he just so much as thinks you're a sinner, he just blows you sky high and you go straight to hell. No way to contend it. It is terrifying. And if you have not seen a picture of Demogoblin, go look him up.
Jaywalker to hell.
Yeah, exactly. That's about the extent of how he viewed things. You know what his only complaint with Carnage was? That he didn't have enough. No, that he didn't have enough discipline. That was it. That was his only complaint. He had no problem with him murdering everyone.
I'm gonna kill everyone. That only doesn't kill kids.
Yeah, but you see, Carnage will kill kids. Like that was his only complaint. He's like, you just don't have enough discipline. Other than that, good job.
Other than that, you're doing good.
All right.
Doing good, kid. You're doing good.
So that means we are into Doppelganger versus Chameleon. Or sorry. No, not Doppelganger versus Chameleon. Sorry. Jackal versus Scorpion and Doppelganger versus Demogoblin.
All right. Well, my vote is for Scorpion.
Again?
Yes, over Jackal.
All right. And Doppelganger Demogoblin?
Demogoblin.
Demogoblin? All right, so Demogoblin moves on to the finale of this because I'm also going to, even though I do like Doppelganger, Demogoblin is still, I feel so underrated that I have to vote for him. So it's on me for who is going to go against Demogoblin for victory here. Ah, man. Sorry, Jackal. I'm just going to go Scorpion.
Like, not that Jackal's not a bad villain. It's just, I feel like Scorpion, he's more iconic. He's more well-known.
Well, that means that it's Demogoblin or Scorpion will be the winner of the first bracket.
Ooh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. Now we're into the real tough decision. Oh, fuck. Well.
We can flip a coin.
So in the main continuity before everything, when Scorpion first came out, it was like a cloth suit with a mechanical tail. And then in different variations in different universes, he gets a mechanical suit, which is the one that they use more now. Same thing with Rhino. They give him the mechanical stuff, and I get why.
Easier.
I feel like with Rhino, I just want to go back to Rhino real quick. I think you guys should start putting him back in a Rhino skin suit instead of a mechanical suit. Because I think that would just be way fucking funnier. Like, Scorpion having his, like, mechanical body, and then this dude in a Rhino suit just goes charging out.
Like, how can he do that? He's just a dude wearing a Rhino costume. He can run through walls like Juggernaut, though.
But yeah, I mean, another thing to add with Scorpion, he also has the razor sharp claws on his hands, which he uses every now and again. And he also later gained the ability to shoot acid out of his tail.
Ooh.
And he also has poisons that he's added with the later addition of the reaping stinger on his tail, so he could poison things. So I mean, he's definitely had modifications that he's added later on. But they're all just for the purpose of fucking killing Spider-Man. Like, I mean, he's an assassin for hire. He'll kill whoever. But if Spider-Man comes along, like, he's gonna ditch that fucking target to kill Spider-Man.
And fun fact, Demogoblin and Scorpion have never seemed to have met, so there's no actual fight between them.
Interesting. Oh, and Scorpion also has spider sense. He has scorpion sense. Because he's a predator.
Well, Jared, I have mine, I think.
Now, Demogoblin, they didn't really... Man, like, I actually... the fun fact, just from my own comic standpoint of being a fan, I actually have an issue where Hobgoblin is possessed, and Demogoblin hasn't left yet. It's actually a Darkhawk issue. There's there's like this little jewel that he has that keeps Demogoblin with him, and Spider-Man comes into the issue because he's been chasing Hobgoblin all fucking over, and him and Darkhawk, like explain to him, he's not regular Hobgoblin, like he is, like, take Hobgoblin, amp him up by 10, and we've got whoever the fuck messed with Hobgoblin. Like, Demogoblin made Hobgoblin a badass. Which is why he was so fucking mad when they split, because then he lost all the extra abilities that he had. There's also a fun story with Demogoblin of he gets summoned by actual little goblins to try to take over New York. And he finds out that it's because of a necklace with the mayor. And then he kills the mayor because he's straight up like, you can't even control this, you stupid-ass human, and sends the mayor to hell. And he takes a medallion, becomes 50 feet tall, and commands the goblins to jump in the river and kill themselves. And then he takes it off. He's like, yeah, you're all heretics. Like, I'm done with this. And then he flies off.
Jared, sounds like you're stalling.
I'm giving more information to all the people. Okay? And also, trying to give all the information I can for influencing votes of whatever way.
Turns out you've been stalling.
Anthony, I think I already know what you're voting, but what are you voting?
It is actually a really hard one. I flipped a bunch of coins. My vote's going to be Scorpion.
I knew it was going to be fucking Scorpion either way. Well, even if I pick a tiebreaker, it's still going to end up being Scorpion because people were just really digging voting Morbius. So, Demogoblin is still very underrated. I still suggest going to check him out.
I agree.
But
and
Scorpion
Doppelganger as well. Not Vermin.
Yeah, we don't need any more cannibals. God, Jeffrey Dahmer already had that covered. So yeah, Scorpion is the winner of the first bracket. He will be going into the finals. Which will be, God only knows when. We have a fuck ton of these characters to go through. Now, and I did give a sneak peek on our Instagram. Again, the odd jokey pants, nothing capital there. I did post our first lineup for the next bracket next Monday, which will be Kingpin and Hammerhead, two crime lord bosses in the first lineup.
I'm excited.
Yeah, so if you're listening to the episode, you're actually going to get a sneak peek here at what we have coming. But we'll still, and if you don't know what they look like, you can keep an eye on our Instagram, and you'll be seeing pictures of them lining up. But for all of you, Kingpin and Hammerhead, Jack-O-Lantern and Shocker, Mysterio and Smythe, and Electro and Negative Man are the next week bracket. It's gonna be a real tough one.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
So yeah, Scorpion is the winner for this. As I said, he'll go into the finals. God only fucking knows who the hell is gonna be in there with him. But this is a tough one. This was this was already a tough one. We're only in the first of the brackets, and it was already tough for us. Because we're fucking nerds. In case you didn't know what you tuned into. So yeah, guys, check us out next Monday with the next bracket, and we'll see who wants is going into the fucking finals. With that, I watched an interesting little thing, which, because most of you are going to be at home right now, depending on how you feel about documentary stuff, I was informed of that, I should watch this, so I did. The Ted Kaczynski thing that they put on Netflix, which, if you don't know who that is, the Unabomber, he was a really bad thing to happen. There was a
smart bastard man.
Yeah, astonishingly fucking smart as fuck. They put out a documentary that was released in 2018, but it was on, Reels channel, which I know what that is. It's like a special channel thing. But it's all stuff from the only person he ever let interview him, because he wouldn't let anyone fucking interview him, and this was the only person they did. So it was a documentary thing with that. And it has some interesting details. And it is something where, you have to kind of decide yourself how you feel about it. But there is evidence that shows that, he might have been pushed a little bit more to what happened than just being crazy. Which, actually, fun fact that I learned from that, when he was in his court case, he actually fired, or at least tried to fire, all of his fucking defense team because they were trying to go for an insanity plea. And he's like, I'm not fucking crazy. I refuse to have an insanity plea. I am not fucking crazy. He fought tooth and nail with them because he was a very, 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 very smart fucking guy. So he hated that. Yeah, so that's a thing you can go watch. There's also, if you watch Tiger King, and I know everybody's talking about it, but they did a thing with an after interview with people. It was kind of interesting. Because the people from there kind of explore a bit more that some of the things that they didn't show in there should have been talked about a bit more, in my opinion. So there's that. Anthony, do you have any recommendations for these people?
No, not really. None that I can think of at the moment.
All right. Well, until next time, guys. You can catch us on Instagram at the Odd Jokey Pants, as I keep mentioning there. We also have the patreon.com/oddcast. You can go for as little as $1 a month. We have extra episodes that go up there. Pretty soon we're going to be having something that I'm going to show you guys, a little thing that James has been working on that we've been in talks of what to do with. There may be some of those that end up going up on there as well. You can also follow us at OddCastN on Twitter. We have Oddcast Network on Facebook. Anthony's new episode of CLT Sandwich that we mentioned earlier, that'll be out Wednesday, so you guys can check that shit out. I had a terrible time.
Which is always great.
It was very traumatic. But yeah, go check that out. Fireside, I'll see you guys Saturday. I don't believe we have a guest Saturday. Last week we talked to Fork Boy, so go check out Fireside Chats. He's a really fun guy. Really fun guy. I'm kind of excited. They're talking about me going on the Gaming Beyond the Box over on YouTube is the stuff that they do. They're talking about getting me on there with them. But I'll keep you all informed. But until then, guys, stay odd, stay healthy, stay happy. Go watch all that stuff. Anthony, anything else you want to add in?
No.
No, nothing else?
Nope. Just y'all have a nice night.
All right, well, bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey guys, I just want to let you know that if you enjoyed the episode here, you can always go over to patreon.com/oddcast, and you can find other things over there that we're doing. Also, go check out all of our podcasts. What an Oddcast, CLT Sandwich, Fireside Chats. You can find them all on your favorite podcast platform, and check out that Patreon to help support us and everything that we want to do. But until next time, you all take care, stay odd,